Cool, and we are live. What's up, guys? This is Synergy Artcast. I think it's episode 5. We are looking for these goals.
Hey, everybody.
All right. So, what is a goal?
A goal? Well, if you look it up on Wikipedia, a goal is a desired result that a person or a system envisions, plans, and commits to achieve. A personal or organizational desired endpoint in some sort of assumed development. Many people endeavor to reach goals within a finite time by setting deadlines. And I thought that was kind of a perfect way to start, because I know goals are very important in what I do in sequential, because deadlines become very...
A deadline is a goal, essentially.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You should definitely start looking at them. In that way, I think it's going to help you out. And I feel like if you start looking at your own progress in that way, too, that's like a deadline. You can kind of put the fire under your ass a little bit. Get you closer to meeting those goals. A pretty big goal that I had this past week, past couple months, was finishing this piece that you guys can see right now. This was a piece that I did with my mentor, Dylan Pierpont.
Mm-hmm.
We finally got it finished. We went through very, very long steps and pushed forward to the end. The cool thing about it, though, was that it really learned my process and learned how I like to work. And the best place for me right now, I feel like that's the important part is what works now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I did it in a timely fashion. And I really finally get it done. I'm super happy to have it done. I got a lot of attention from myself when I finished it. And then I finished something to this point. It's pretty exciting to see that people responded well to it.
Doesn't it feel good to, like, I don't know, whenever I do something, you have that like checklist in your head and you can just kind of like click off the first or second goal that you've set for yourself. Kind of makes you get a little bit more energized for like the next step and kind of
a little bit more ambitious, like it's not just this straight road, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, goals can definitely help you like light the way to keep going, you know, instead of, feeling like you're always trying to accomplish like, oh, I have to learn how to draw a masterpiece. You can set something for yourself to where like you're jumping, step by step.
I need to learn how to do thumbnails.
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn how to do a black and white sketch. I need to learn how to add color to that black and white sketch.
Right.
And in my case, I'm going to learn how to utilize 3D in order to get to a finish. I think that was super important too. Was me delving into 3D, and I learned a lot really fast. Though I don't know like the bigger programs like Maya or Miller or anything, I do want to learn those. But a lot of this was some SketchUp and Daz. And if you guys know this, Daz Studio it's an animation program, and you can add figures into OBJ.
Into what?
You can in SketchUp, if you build your environment the right way, you can export that as an OBJ. That's just a normal 3D file format.
Oh, okay.
And in Daz, you can actually import that and add figures and lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So you feel like you've been able to accomplish something a little bit quicker and easier just because you've like set yourself to learn 3D better?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I could definitely see it being a big part of my workflow.
Cool.
So what have you done this week that's been beneficial?
Beneficial wise, well, I've learned some patience, that's for sure. Waiting on a couple things, and in the meantime, I've just been just trying to remain calm. Also, find other things to work on, kind of be able to work on the fly and readjust. It's not all the time, especially doing freelance, that you can just always stick to the thing that you said last week you were going to do, because either, if you're relying on someone else or relying on a certain project to come up, you sometimes end up waiting longer. You have to kind of refocus. So I've been spending a lot of time either studying up on different techniques or working on like another project that I have going that I've kind of put on the back burner.
What project is that?
It's a comic. It's a small print comic called The Inside that'll be out probably, I think, later this year. I've done 2 issues of it so far. And yeah, I have another project that I'm taking over here soon, but I was gonna, take a break from that. But I'm currently still waiting for that project to begin. So in the meantime, I'm going to find something else that I can kind of work on and keep me moving instead of staying stagnant or, getting down. Yeah, that's what I've been up to this week, really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When we decided on today's topic, I started to think about goals and what I can do to set goals for myself, because that's something that I feel like I need to do a little bit more often, as far as like daily things go. So I think one of my big goals is going to be doing a 1-hour anatomy study.
Cool.
Every week or every day.
Nice.
Even though that sounds like small for now, I feel like it's going to help out a lot.
No, yeah, that's a goal to, that's like a continuous goal that like you'll continue to build off of, because the more that you spend an hour every day or every week or whatever, the more time you devote to that, the more that you get in the rhythm and start learning better ways to get faster, create better, think of, cooler concepts instead of relying on like an image that you are trying to put on paper. You can get to the point where I was reading a good article just a little bit ago about the artist Alex Toth. I don't know if you know who he is. He was a comic book guy. He did all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons like Space Ghost. He did what's the other one? He did a bunch of them. He was a lead designer in like Super Friends, all those kinds of things. And the whole article was basically about how he started out as just like a regular artist, but the one thing that he excelled at was the ability to take a line or any kind of drawing or any kind of like image and get it down to a base point. And his whole idea was that, his drawing wasn't so much a carbon copy of like the image that he was trying to produce, but it was the perfect ideal for your eyes. So you would see it and, like, yeah, he didn't draw like every leaf on the ground or like every tree in the jungle, but the way that he would render or do design would allow you to kind of understand perfectly what he was going for. And that's definitely something that I've made a goal of mine, is like learning not so much how to like, how to draw the perfect leg, but how to like, say I want to draw a guy running and I want to make it look like he's going crazy fast or something. I don't necessarily want to like know exactly how to draw a leg in perspective moving forward. That's very important. That's good to know. But I want to know how to push that weight, that motion.
Yeah, that's always good. I think one of my favorites in the gig,
Okay.
yeah, he was talking about how now there's not so much about what you know
Mm-hmm.
or about what you show, but about what you don't show.
Mm.
And his character's always like amazing. And I was talking to my buddy Tim today, and we were going over some anatomy references in this awesome figure sport that I just found.
Mm.
And he said that they were too muscly.
Too muscly?
And, yeah, too muscly. And completely agree with him.
Mm.
It's way too muscly. It's not the kind of figures that I want to be drawing.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it is showing me what's under the skin. And I'm going to be able to apply, what I learned from doing those muscle studies to the more limp and to the more fragile characters. Because that's what I'm more interested in, the dad bod.
Dad bod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like a little bit of like, one of the things I never liked about DC or Marvel comics growing up was that like house style, like every Superman or every Batman or every Spider-Man like had to be drawn a certain way, like they had all the webbing planned out. And to me, that kind of like loses a bit of like the magic of art, or the magic of, like especially superheroes, like I always think of superheroes as being these larger than life characters. And that's why I don't like when they go super realistic on movies too. It's all coming together now. I'm now understanding it. Let's see.
So,
that's a pretty good running guy, right?
yeah.
It's a good start.
Yeah, I saw that you had written some stuff about what good goals and bad goals are.
Yeah.
Do
you want to?
I really like reading some of this. Let me pull this up really quick. So when you're referring to SMART goals, did you find this information somewhere, or did you write this up?
Yeah, no, I when we were talking about what we wanted our topic to be, I started to look up good goal setting, because I know good goal setting for like a project or an art thing, but I wanted to look more at like basic goal setting, like buying a house. So this is actually from I believe it was a financial planner, and what he was talking about for goals.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are really good. You're talking about making SMART goals, and when you're referring to SMART goals, you mean goals must have a sound stone, but a goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Not something that's so vague that it's either unattainable or it's going to be attainable with no work at all.
Right. Exactly. Like you want to have goals that have specifics in them instead of making vague goals, like I'm gonna eat less, but that doesn't really help, because then you're setting yourself up to like, that time that maybe you're in a pinch, and the whole goal of eating less doesn't really help you. But if you make a goal that's, say, I'm going to eat less preservatives or something like that, and have, one of those diets that's just a 30-calorie diet or whatever the thing is, you actually then give yourself specifics that you can move in, give your goal like a little bit of specifics, so you're not stuck on just the idea itself.
Yeah. they had a really good example on a specific goal. So, like a bad goal would be write a book.
Yeah.
A good goal would be write a book proposal for, such and such something that you're interested in, like your IP. So like if you're doing character development, don't be like, oh, my goal is to design all the characters in my book. It should be, let me sit down, find the personality and the look of my main character.
Yeah.
It's a good first step. It's a good small goal. It's a goal that will lead into the overarching point. And I think that's really good.
Yeah, I need to put on, I think in our links, I read an article earlier too this week it was about making your life better. And it was talking about how, you can say what you want to do, but really it's about, actually understanding what you want to do instead of just like saying it, because a lot of times when you say it, that actually gives your brain the satisfaction of like almost completing it. Like I think they've done studies where like if you tell people that you're going to go do this, that will almost give you the same type of endorphins, and your brain will register it as like, oh, we've already done that. Like I've already talked to people about it. That's all I needed, And so
kind of like when they release a new movie, like the Red Band trailer, everybody's like, oh shit, finally gonna get this movie. It's producing this feeling of completion almost.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think I know exactly. I feel like I've seen most movies because I've seen the trailers. It almost completes it for you. Don't really need to see it. I don't know if that says more about trailers. But yeah, no, exactly. So what are you going to be, what are you working on over there right now?
Right now, I was just going to go off of those goals that I was talking about earlier. Doing some anatomy studies. I am terrible at hands. And I read an article about my friend Ashley McLaughlin shared with me, just talking about how a lot of artists have this, I guess the portrait syndrome, something along the lines of that, where artists just draw like portraits of their characters.
Yeah.
And they were explaining about how the hands can be just as much expressive as the face. And he's tired of seeing just portraits.
Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes wonder if I beat myself up too much for that kind of stuff, because I always see that, and I see like people that just draw like busts of superheroes, for cons. And I always told myself like, I don't want to use that like easy out. So I'll always try and come up with things that are more complicated. And then I end up
telling a story. It's telling a story.
Right. Yeah.
That was his big thing. Was tell a story with your character. If you like a character so much, you like to draw them. Make a story.
Right. But to speak to like goals, when I worry a lot about trying to come up with a story or coming up with some big idea, I will lose the momentum that I had. Like right now, I'm having a little bit of trouble coming up with what exactly I'm going to be doing here. I'm just kind of coming up with a dude. I don't really like his arm, but we're gonna just see where it goes, because I'm trying to see how far I can get with just my brain.
realistic goals.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good point to talk about when talking about goals too. A good goal should stretch you, but you do have to be able to realize if it's attainable or not, or if it's in your comfort zone or not. Like for example, for artists, a goal shouldn't necessarily be, I'm going to work for Microsoft 2 days after I graduate. You know,
Yeah.
Like for me, it's just getting my first freelance job.
Hmm.
I've still never had a freelance job as far as like illustration, concept art goes, which is kind of upsetting for me. But it's pushing me to, do better social marketing, really getting my name out there, stuff like that. And I know it's going to happen one day. And hopefully sooner than later, but it's going to happen. And it's a lot closer to happening than Microsoft or Bungie or Epic Studios. That's a good first step.
Yeah, I think if you give yourself plenty of different goals, you allow yourself not to, because I used to give myself like crazy goals, like, yeah, I'm going to finish a comic, or I'm going to get an image comic next year, And every time I would do that, I would, lose sight of like what I was actually trying to do, because I was so worried about like, well, I'm not getting that image book. And the more I would do that, the less I would actually, accomplish anything. So I think setting a couple different goals for yourself, or different like levels of goals, and also giving yourself room to actually meet the smaller ones, and the day-to-day goals. Like you were saying, you want to do anatomy,
Studies.
yeah, the studies, that's great. That's a great goal to have, because you can always keep working on that.
I think it's time.
Yeah.
You definitely need to have a time-oriented goal setting. Like for me and Dylan, when we were doing this mentorship, we always had a 1 week deadline. Like 1 week for black and white, 1 week for color, 1 week for design, 1 week for effects. Sometimes we broke that down if I was having a little bit more trouble with something and to learn something more, especially with the design phase. That was something that I was struggling a lot on. But we kept with the goals in mind, and we didn't allow for too much overlap.
Yeah, I find myself sometimes like craving goals, and that's the hard part about freelance, is you are the one that has to set that for yourself. You can't always rely on someone being like, you go through school and you have like, all right, next week you're gonna have your still life due, or all right, next week homework's supposed to be turned in. But when you get into the field and you're actually doing something, most jobs aren't going to like hold your hand, and they'll give you a deadline, or they'll give you something to meet, but in between there's not a lot of there's not a lot of hand holding. So you have to be the one that comes up with these kinds of
Self-employed goals.
Yeah, self-implied goals and work ethics.
That kind of feeds into the whole schooling thing. I'm not a huge fan of the school, but I do feel like it was very important in the goal-making aspect of work ethic. That was a huge part that it's giving me.
Nice.
So for all of you who are wondering about school or not, that is one plus that it does give you if you go in with that mindset to make it a goal for yourself.
Yeah, school can definitely be helpful when trying to set up goals for yourself. I learned a lot of, ways to give myself certain goals, like I was saying before, but I'm also I'm very hard on myself. So I set goals that I think sometimes aren't really important in the long run. They're like, those, I get sidetracked by the bigger, headier, goals that I wish would come true. But yeah, the more that you do that, the less you actually end up solving and actually, helping your progress.
Another type of goal that this article is bringing up is measurable. And they have a nice quote that says, "You can't manage what you can't measure." It's really nice.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about when you were talking about having your goal be, I want a job at Microsoft or wherever, as compared to like, I'm going to do studies every week. That's a measurable goal that every week you can look at your progress. You can see like, oh man, I really have learned how to draw hands or feet or, action poses or whatever it is, learning 3D. Like the more goals that you set for yourself like that, the more you won't be burned out. Because I think a lot of people will set these big old goals for themselves and try and accomplish them. And, you may accomplish like the first one and then be like, yeah, see, this isn't going to be hard. But if you're only trying to hit like giant goals, you're going to burn yourself out eventually, especially if you don't meet one of those big goals.
Well, I think the thing is that it's not necessarily that you're most likely not to meet those big goals, but it's more, it's in that longer run. So you're not going to have these bursts of enthusiasm to get you to that big time goal,
Right, yeah.
I mean, because like I guess a life goal of mine would be to work for Epic Studios. I actually love their artwork, but that's not something that I'm focusing on every day.
Right.
That's something that I can see way into the future after I hit all these smaller goals and I get better at my craft.
Yeah.
So I guess you can kind of look at it as like a progression timestamp. So you can't look all the way at the end if you have all these walls in front of you that you should be looking at first.
I'll agree with that. Trying to think, what do you think of this dude here? I kind of gave him, I don't know, samurai armor? Can't decide whether samurai armor or like knight armor. Samurai?
Totally.
All right.
He almost looks like a samurai Frankenstein.
Samurai Frankenstein. Wait, hold on.
Well, he already had the little neck.
The little neck. Oh, I see what you have. The bolts.
Yeah.
Like these like bolts right here.
So that'd be a really cool story about like how Frankenstein, how he's the monster.
The monster.
Frankenstein.
He goes off to be a samurai.
Yeah. Well, how long he lives, he's
That would be cool. All right, nobody take that idea. Copyright 2015, 9/30, August 18th.
I'm pretty sure you could do that. Like make a story because is there a copyright on Dr. Frankenstein stuff?
Nope. It's in public domain. That's why now you'll see. In fact, I have a wonderful website for if you ever want to like look up like comics or comic book like pulp characters that are now in public domain. And there's so many, some of them are the weirdest characters like 1940s characters that you're like, I don't understand. I think there's one like called the Razzer or the Razzle, something like that. It's like this weird, and he's fast. That's all. That's it. And they're not like in-depth characters, but maybe you can make them cool. So if you guys ever want to like, you know, want to create a character, but like don't really have anything to go on and are looking for maybe an already existing, that's always fun to kind of redesign a character that already exists. And then, yeah, who knows? You could totally get it published because it's in the public domain.
Oh, man.
Let's give them.
It's
Always ground.
I think one of the bigger points, I think you wrote this down. To write your goals down.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
Well, I believe very much in, you know, writing things down or like just taking time for you, because you can say that you want to do this or that, or you want to like try and have this done by that time. But unless you like put your writing it down, helps your brain focus on it, because you're spending two different, or you're putting two different types of thinking into it. You're, you know, writing it, which will cause your brain to think about it as a sentence, and then you're also thinking about it in the sense that now it is in your brain. Does that make sense? Is that right? That's kind of what I was getting at. Was like you need a way to visualize it, but then also to put it on paper helps you cement it. And it's not just a like, oh, here are my ethereal goals that like I wish one day I get to. If you have it written down, it will become more concrete. It becomes more real to you. Yeah. Not to get too weird, but that's like prayer. Prayer, whether you believe in faith or not, I think a lot of prayer has to do with the fact that you're acknowledging your prayer and you're putting it out there. So just the fact that you're making it known that these are intentions or your hopes. I think that has a lot to do with how that helps. Yeah. So that's, I think, what I was trying to get at when I wrote that.
I usually write down a lot in my sketchbooks, and I don't necessarily. I don't keep this super nice, pretty sketchbook like a lot of my friends do. My sketchbooks are so outlandish. It's almost hard to do. I actually failed in a project once because my sketchbook was so everywhere.
Hodgepodge?
She was like, I can't read any of this. I don't know what you're doing. Half of this is drawing, half of this is writing. This isn't a sketchbook.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. And it kind of aggravated me because it was that the project was to just keep a sketchbook and fill a sketchbook, for one quarter. And that was my own personal sketchbook. And like you could tell that I was doing studies and I was exploring different things. Her argument against me was that number one, she couldn't read what I was writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why that matters, but it did. And it was just weird. And I feel like if you have a certain way of studying or a certain way of setting goals for yourself, you do that. It doesn't matter how clean it is or how gross or nice it is.
Yeah, I've never particularly been of the mind that like a sketchbook has to be like pretty looking, or like for anyone else but you. Yeah, my sketchbook is filled. I mean, I have, when I was working at a liquor store, half of my notes were like my work notes, but then they would turn into either I was working on an original comic at the time with a friend, so I would always jot down like a bunch of notes on there, And, you know, it was very messy and very weird, but it definitely helped me. You know, it wasn't really for anybody else. It wasn't to like sell online or anything. It was just a reference for me to be able to use. And sometimes I don't go back and read those, you know, sometimes, or I'll go back and read them and be like, I have no idea what I was trying to, you know, keep in mind, or trying to remember, or make a note of. In fact, I was listening to a podcast of, he was the guitarist for the band Oasis, and he was talking about, you know, he wrote all their songs, and he had a song that he like wrote the same time he wrote like Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger and all that. And he would, you know, write all of it in this this book. And there was one song that he like could never quite crack, and it was just like, it always bugged him, but then he kind of let it go after a while. But then every time they would do a new album, he would like try and see if he could fit it in here or there, and, you know, he let it go. And then just recently, I guess, he was walking in the supermarket, and all of a sudden, like, boom, the like chorus hit him, and he was like, oh yeah, now I know. And, you know, it was like almost 20 years later that, yeah, but he wrote it down somewhere, and it was stuck in his head, and he knew it, but he never did quite finish it until just recently. I always find those kind of stories very interesting and reassuring, you know, because I think I get a little terrified at the fact that that I'm not doing enough, or like, oh, I have to always have a wonderful, perfectly done thing, you know, at all times. When sometimes it's not, that's not how it works. I mean, working on a project that you're working with goals and things like that, but like any kind of IP, I guess, is what I'm talking about. Any kind of your own thing, to get bogged down in like, this has to be done now, or this has to be, I guess, the opposites of goals. Not the opposite of goals.
Kind of a thing that we were talking about, you know, in the household was Daniel Lucy's big
Yeah.
blog post.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was really good. There's not a single part that I didn't enjoy reading. But it pretty much just goes through, you know, his hardship and everything that, you know, he goes through in order to get where he is now. He's a huge name now after, you know, some companies have ripped him off and everything. I feel like that's a point in your artist career where you're like, yeah, I'm good. You know,
when you get ripped off?
Yeah, when you start getting ripped off by these huge companies.
Well, I was gonna say I've had my share, but yeah, no, I found the whole article kind of just really nice to see, because I think he had in it that Spider-Man Venom picture,
Yeah.
which I remember seeing that on, you know, on DeviantArt probably forever ago, and being like, oh, this guy's crazy, oh my god, and then never really, I guess, gave it much more thought until he did. It was before he did that. No, was it no?
Last Man Standing.
Last Man Standing. That's it. I knew it was a 3. I didn't like really hear or see anything of him until like his first one. I don't even think it was, you know, known as that. It was just like a doodle that he did. So yeah, it was really cool to see like his whole journey, and I definitely felt his. You know, he was talking about starting out in digital and like learning the Wacom and everything, and I was like, I know what that's like. Yeah. I remember those days of using terrible, like early Photoshop gradients and like outer glows. Ooh, it was a mess.
It's fun, I'm sure.
What's that?
So I'm sure it was fun though.
Oh, so much fun.
I mean, it's good to be able to tell that you work on. I think that kind of like feeds back into like me learning 3D.
Mm.
It's something that I need to do.
Mm. I would say definitely a goal that I'm trying to work on now is using digital as much, or use it in the same way that I used to ink, because I really got into inking with a brush and being able to like make nice lines and use different thicknesses, and whiteout was always my best friend. So now I'm really trying to make it an effort to be able to use, Photoshop or whatever as much as I did with those things, and be able to get to a point where I can kind of hash something out and feel good enough about it and not feel like I'm just kind of taking stabs in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also pretty good to. Would you say it's good to work on your goal in both digital and traditional?
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. I mean, it took me a while to embrace digital, but I mean, and I'm now doing it a lot more, but traditional, nothing can replace it. It's just, I think you should be able to like, at least be able to play around with almost anything, like,
Yeah.
Fuck it, try some watercolor, just see what it's like. I used to hate gouache because it's a fickle mistress, but it's very important to at least try it, or at least understand a little bit of what you're doing. If you get like stuck in a thing where you're just using one type of utensil, I don't know, I feel like it'll eventually catch up to you. You'll eventually have a point where you either get so stuck in a rut that you'll give yourself no more goals, and you'll be in maybe your Copic sketches are really cool, but what else can you do? Can you take some watercolor and go paint a tree? No? Well, I guess cool,
That's definitely something that I need to work on. Is traditional. I am starting to feel a lot more comfortable drawing traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I can draw better with my Cintiq
Mm-hmm.
than I can in the sketchbook. It's weird. I don't know if it's a comfortability thing.
It's you youngins and your technology. No, I don't know. It took me a long time to like I never felt comfortable drawing from a tablet just straight onto the computer, because my brain couldn't think that way, And then I think one of the first times I ever tried a Cintiq, it took me a minute to get used to. And once I did, I was like, oh no, I'm never going to go back.
I think that's funny. One of my favorite professors here at SCAD, John Lowe,
Mm-hmm.
He yells at me, Brandon, draw more.
I think that's his like, if he had an action figure, that would be like his little button in the back. It would just be like, draw more.
Well, it's not that I don't draw,
Uh-huh.
because I make a point to be on my computer sketching and drawing and painting.
Mhm.
at least 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big goal that sorry, my dog's been gross. That's a big goal that I've been doing successfully.
Mhm. And do you feel like you've now gotten to a point, because you've reached those goals, you're able to move on and create bigger goals for yourself?
Well, but it's weird when I don't now.
When you don't what?
When I don't draw or paint for 8 hours.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah.
But his whole thing of telling me, Brandon, draw more.
Uh-huh.
It's that was at a point where I was really trying to learn 3D, and I would, we had this class of environment property structures where we were supposed to be designing environments and guns and cars and stuff. And I was that student who I would make a 3D sketch in a sense.
Yeah.
And draw over top of that. Stop.
Your dog wants to talk too. She has plenty of goals.
And that, he got me at a point in time in my life where I was doing a lot of 3D and a lot of painting and drawing with 3D. And I think that that's completely just as valid as, drawing every square inch of an environment. Because number one, that's helped me out a lot with perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like 3D sculpture is good for like drawing anatomy.
Yeah.
I think it's super helpful.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I did my freshman year of college is I made it a goal of every week I would draw my friend's Facebook profile pics, but I would do it as like a rotoscope, and that was to get me better at being able to like use my tablet, and also like it helped me with. I ended up also learning how to do like facial features and like, making people look different than just like random face number 4, Yeah, and that actually, wow, I just remembered that. That was like a really fun thing to do, and it really did like help me become a lot more comfortable with the tablet. That's not something I would do as like a thing. I don't like sit there and trace a bunch of faces all the time. But in doing that exercise, it really helped me understand stuff better.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge gain in tracing, personally.
I think it, yeah.
As long as you know how to take it, to showing people, don't go, hey, look what I painted today. When you just traced a face or painted at the top of a photo. Yeah, I painted everything.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, I think it's like anything, it's just like
how I used to ask.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like I don't feel fully comfortable drawing a figure from a worm's eye view. Mm-hmm. So I just put it into as and drew on top of it, and people know that I use that tool to get to that certain endpoint.
I say, yeah. I mean, that's I think the same when talking about like perspective or something. Like to use perspective grid. No one calls that cheating. No one calls that like.
It's weird that people call things cheating nowadays.
Well, I think it's partially because we're in such like a remix culture that like there's a whole generation that's so used to just taking this, taking that, putting that in there, and then just like, yep, this is it. But then there's still those people that I know people that consider any type of like, oh well, I took this image and then I manipulated it a little bit and like added this to it, and they don't consider that creative, I guess. Well, no, I mean, they would agree that it's a drawing or whatever, but they wouldn't put it up there with like an original piece. They'll always like hold it with an asterisk mark, you know? Like it's almost like people consider that like the steroids of art, which I don't really consider it that at all. You know, I think it's just a tool like anything else. You can use it to better yourself and better like the idea that you're trying to get across, just like anything, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's a huge plus in my mentorship with them.
Nice. Yeah, that did we talk about that last week?
We talked a little bit about it.
A little bit. I'm gonna say because or 2 weeks ago. We were off last week.
But if anybody has any questions, I think now is the time to ask. I'm going to shoot the shit for a little bit and call it quits here in about the next 1 minute.
Ask it now. I'll never talk to you guys ever again.
Where's his bowl at?
What?
His bowl.
His bowl. Oh, I'm getting there. I'm just going. I'm putting him back in. Making him. Yeah.
So, what are you going to be working on this coming week?
This coming week, if not the one thing I talked about earlier, sorry for the vagueness, I just don't know really how much I can go into it. But if not that, I will be continuing to work on the Inside comic, which, you know, if we are on air, when I find out when exactly that's coming out, I'll definitely pimp it out on this. So you guys will definitely know. Or ladies, sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to pump out a lot of these anatomy studies. I might do a lot more like concept art rather than illustration, because that's mainly what I want to be.
Yeah.
There's a difference. One
Yeah.
of my friends was trying to say that you can be a good illustrator. If you're a good illustrator, that means that you're a good concept artist.
I was going to say, all right, let me see if I can figure this out. So like illustrator is someone that does a finished design or a finished piece, whereas a concept designer is someone that problem solves to create
unique design.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right, a design.
And there's a huge difference in that. I know that now our concept art's pretty, like we don't, as concept artists, you're not necessarily going to be like, oh my God, look at that composition.
Look at her composition.
Oh my God, look at her composition.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's not like that. There's a lot more like intuitive thought about the function and the wearability or the usage or the planning.
Right.
In the concept art. And I feel like illustration is more how can I catch the viewer's attention.
It's more about storytelling?
Yeah, it's more about storytelling. And I feel like concept art, one sentence would be, how do I make the viewer have fun? And then illustration is, how do I catch the viewer's attention?
All right, yeah, cool.
And that's something along the lines of that.
I'm gonna say we might have to have like a weekly session every now and again now of teach Kevin something, because I have spent a lot of time, learning sequential things, because I kind of relate what you just said about concept and illustrator to sequential artists, or like somebody that does the pages as compared to somebody who does covers. some people can do both. Some people like to do both. And then there are other people that are just not good at one or the other and are really good at one or the other.
It was kind of like me saying, if you're good at covers,
Mhm.
then you're good at making comics.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
It's not how easy it is.
No, they're different. You have different approaches to both, and there's different goals that you want to hit in both.
Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like our time is up for today. Thank you guys. If you guys want to tune in next week, we'll be sure to post our topic a lot earlier. If you guys don't know, we're trying to make this a lot more structured.
Yeah. Tell us what you guys think, give us some ideas of like stuff you guys want to like talk about, or if you guys have anything that like comes to mind that you'd like us to, speak on, or, yeah, if you like us, drop us a line. Do we have a website? We don't have a website.
Personal website.
There we go.
But we do have a channel on YouTube.
Yeah, go to YouTube.
So,
look us up. Ask us questions.
And feel free. You guys can email either of us. Our emails and all our contact information is in the descriptions of these videos. And we're going to be posting some links pertaining to these episodes. So until next week, guys.
See ya.